over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. Of course, sports shorts presented each and every week by La Berge Casino in Baton Rouge. Of course, we'll be over at La Berge Casino tomorrow night for Sports Shorts After Dark from 7 to 9 p.m. Of course, Sports Shorts Radio normally on Saturday mornings, but due to the LSU 11 a.m. start, the pregame shows and all beforehand, we'll do ours, kind of like a little LSU postgame show, but it'll be tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m. at Stadium Sports Bar inside La Berge. So come on out and see us. Please like and share this video. It's how we get paid, right? I mean, that's basically your price of admission is just hit that button, like, and share it. We're on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, usually around 9 a.m. TK joining us. All right, TK. So this week, LSU taking on Mississippi State. It's a very telling game about the Tigers because clearly, you're not going to get much juice out of beating Central Michigan and McNeese. Obviously Central Michigan made people feel a little bit better because they were able to hang 49 against them on the board and cover the 19-point spread. So you feel like they're moving in the right direction. But it's been bad news this week. They lose a defensive starter, a couple defensive starters, one for the year, and now we find out, Mr. All Everything, Derek Stingley, is not going to play against Mississippi State. And this is a big blow considering we know Mississippi State's going to throw the ball about 3/4 of the time.
Yeah, that might be worth 2 or 3 or 4 more completions or busted coverages or whatever because Mike Leach with the air raid offense, he's going to, put it up in there. But this is a big game for LSU. Number one, it's an SEC game. It's on the road. They're going to have the whiteout. They're going to have cowbells, and Jay Ward's coming back, maybe make up for Andre Anthony and Stingley not being there. But this is going to be a big challenge for LSU. That line's been sitting at 2.5 for a couple of days now. And, the wise guys are basically saying it's a one-play game, one-possession game at the end. So we'll see what happens. Big challenge for LSU. Tiger fans are really looking forward to it, albeit at 11 o'clock in the morning. And, hey, we're going to have fun with Sports Shorts Radio After Dark tomorrow night at the Stadium Sports Bar at the La Berge Casino. I'm looking forward to that because we're going to have plenty to talk about from LSU, Mississippi State.
The Stingley being out thing, and this they said he re-aggravated an injury he had during training camp. Does it change for you who wins or loses or who covers, who doesn't?
Well, I'm all over the over 56 points. You and I both said that a couple of days ago. And that even makes me feel more confident with over the 56 because you got to believe it. Stingley's not there. That's maybe another score for Mississippi State or another drive that they keep alive on the way to a score because I can promise you Leach is going right after McLaughlin, who's going to be in there instead of Stingley. And they may have other guys out there too, but Leach is going to test them. There's no question about that.
This is not, look, no, Coach O is not going to get credit. He's not going to be allowed to have excuses. With Stingley out, they need LSU to win. They have to win. This is one of those games on the schedule on a brutal SEC schedule where LSU, you're putting down a victory for the Tigers. But this is, you're talking about your best player. You're looking for stability on the back end of that secondary, and him not being there and that leadership, that experience, basically taking away a player, a receiver. You put him on a guy, basically that player is gone. This is just not at all what the doctor ordered for LSU and a team that, quite honestly, Tommy, I'm still trying to figure out if I want to buy the Tigers of 2021 or sell. I'm kind of to me, this is the game that tells me what I think about them.
Yeah, it's going to go a long way, even though it'll only be the fourth game in, but it's a conference game. It's on the road. LSU has typically done well in Starkville over the years, but every year is different. And, look what happened last year, 632 yards passing for Mississippi State against LSU. So they know that. Their staff knows that. Ed Orgeron knows that. I think the Tigers are in for a tough game. And then, like you said, they got to find a way to win. They got to find a way to leave Starkville with a W.
All right, so no Andre Anthony. They find out earlier, that the injury suffered in the game cost him the rest of the season, and no Stingley. All right. So, what is the point spread, and what is your pick for the fans out there?
Well, LSU's a 2.5 point favorite. The over/under is 56. I dropped a podcast with picks today at Talking Sports with TK. It's coming out in about an hour, but I like the over 56. I mean, just think about it. I mean, 31-28, you're a winner. A lot of the guys in the Advocate had it way over 56 with their predictions, and of course, they follow it on a daily basis. So TK going to go with the Sports Shorts Daily LSU Mississippi State over 56.
All right, so that's the one I like the most. But as far as over, as far as -2.5, LSU being a -2.5 point favorite, I am going to lean towards LSU. If just because I feel like we got to make a pick, I'll take LSU -2.5. But boy, I sure don't feel real good about it, Tommy. Especially the news that's come out with this. It's almost like until I see it happen, I can't believe it. We've watched now 13 football games since Joe Burrow left the Superdome a national champion. And those 13 football games, for the most part, have looked pretty similar, minus maybe the Texas A&M game last year where you really brought it defensively for a little while. So I'm just not going to believe that because the calendar's changing to another week that all of a sudden this defense and this team is going to look so different, minus 2 starters from a week ago, and one of them being an All-American. So you think they're in the right space mentally and more prepared to go up there and take care of Mississippi State. Clearly they're beatable, what Memphis did last week. It'd help LSU if they could get one of those referee calls, but official calls. But that said, I'm going to take LSU -2.5, and then probably I would go like 1 unit on that and like 3 units on over 56.
Well, keep this in mind too. Cade York has made his last 12 field goals. He's 3 for 3 in Starkville at Davis Wade Stadium. Could be a field goal at the end of the game, which is sitting right on that 2.5. Ronnie, I think I'm gonna go against the grain with you. I love the over 56, but I think gamblers know what I mean. Buy that half point and get Mississippi State +3. That might be worth that extra juice to buy that half point because they're going to be at home. I mean, I don't think either team runs away with it. I think when there's 5 minutes to go in the game, both teams are going to have a shot to win.
Well, the good news is that, the game's at 11 a.m. And what I mean by that is one of the rare times I think the good news is, Starkville doesn't have a chance to get as looped up and to get as loud. Now, it doesn't take that much to just shake that cowbell.
Oh,
and but maybe you get a little bit of a break, maybe 11 a.m. Starkville. I mean, let's face it, it's in the middle of nowhere. Most people that got to go to the game have to drive from Jackson or Memphis or some other location to get there. So maybe it's a little bit of a sleepy crowd at the beginning of the game. I don't know. Fingers crossed. How about Cade York, by the way, getting the Velveeta endorsement? He's all this week on social media. There's been Cade York being endorsed by Velveeta. He's in the orange and yellow football uniform, kicking field goals. And it's pretty wild how this NIL stuff has happened. And you would have never thought Cade York would be the guy that would be like the first big national brand from this LSU football team. But those 50-plus yard field goals he's been kicking and probably the right price point has made him the leader in the clubhouse right now. I bet his teammates had a fun time giving him a hard time this week about that Velveeta commercial.
Yeah, maybe they all had grilled cheese sandwiches for a snack, maybe, huh? But no, he's an All-American kicker. His record speaks for itself. The long field goals, the one in the swamp last year to beat the Gators when it was foggy. I think he's a guy that's going to kick in the NFL. And, a lot of place kickers don't get drafted in the NFL. When you look at the big picture, very few. And if they do, it's the 5th round, something like that. I think he's a guy that'll get picked in that 5th or 6th round or higher. Because he has proven over and over. And again, he's got 12 in a row right now. So, and a couple of those are over 50. I think he holds the Tiger Stadium record. So, yeah, Velveeta cheese. Grilled cheese sandwiches are on Cade York.
I tell you, Tommy, you think that Cade York's definitely going to go pro this year?
Well, sooner or later. I don't know if he leaves after this season or not. I know he'd be eligible to leave. I guess, he's got to make that decision. But, maybe somebody comes in on top of the cheese product, and maybe he hangs around for a little while. I don't know how much fun he's having, but he's got some money in his pocket now, so he might come back. We'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. The thing about it is, as you mentioned, Cade York. I think no doubt he gets drafted, whether he comes out this year or next year. He's going to get drafted. But with the NIL stuff, it changes the dynamic for players on automatically whether they come out and go pro. And what I mean by that, Tommy, is that unless you are, excuse me, a high draft pick, you have something to think about. If you're sitting there looking at a 5th, 6th, 7th round pop, and you're a name brand and you're on your college team, and you can go pick up some more NIL dollars, and clearly Cade York would do well locally even next year on NIL deals. He'd say, you know what, I had such a good time. I want to set all kind of records. I want to play for a national championship. Maybe he's got a girlfriend here. You never know. He can make a couple, 6 figures playing college football again next year.
Well, it's an interesting thing that we haven't seen unfold yet, Ron, and you just made me think about it. When we get to January, when they got that period of time when you have to declare for the NFL draft, okay, I'm going to use Cade York as an example, and please know this is hypothetical. Let's say Orgeron knows he doesn't have another kicker waiting in the wings, certainly not one capable of being Cade York. So Cade York's got to make a decision. Does he say, well, look, we're going to get you loaded up with some NIL deals. Give us a week to land something for you, and then you can stay here because I don't 100%. Have a kicker coming up. And that could be any school, any position. It could be that quarterback. We don't know if he's going to get – that might be a bad example. That wide receiver that you're not sure what round he might go in. Well, that coaching staff or that school may say, well, look, hey, TK's Chevrolet dealership, you ready to load up on this kid so we can keep him? That's an unintended consequence of NIL that we haven't experienced yet because it just went into effect July 1, and we got guys that will have to declare across the country, January, February, they got to make their declaration for whether they're going to enter the NFL draft. That's going to be the Wild West with no sheriff again, part 2.
By the way, that is 100% going to happen, Tommy. We haven't seen it yet, but it will. I mean, in December – once the season ends or when the season's coming to an end, and whether you're in a bowl game or not in a bowl game, you start looking at your roster, maybe having conversations with players and realize we got some dudes we got to re-recruit, to get them back here, whether it's to stay at LSU or any school, but particularly, the pro, no-go pro. If it's a guy who's a 1st, 2nd round grade, or even top 3 round grade, you're not going to be able to do anything about that. It's the guy that probably shouldn't go pro, because look, you may or may not get drafted, or if you do, it's surely not going to be on the first day or two. Those are the guys you got a chance to maybe throw a few bucks in their pocket locally and get them to stay another year if they don't mind going to class and they enjoy playing for you. Speaking of kind of in that same world, the marketing world, the NHL made a big deal. The Washington Capitals came out and are now going to have an advertisement on their jersey for Caesars Entertainment, which, by the way, Caesars Entertainment, which is going to be on the Superdome, and it's now the Caesars Superdome, and they did a deal with LSU. Now, we don't expect that Caesars is going to be on the jerseys at LSU, but the point is that the advertising world is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's starting to become, Tommy, like soccer. It's not quite there yet in the United States, but there has to be a day, right, where the SEC is going to have advertisement patches, logos on their jerseys, right? That's going to come.
I think it's coming. I mean, the NBA's got jersey patches, and there's restrictions. It's got to be a certain size. It can't be, big as the number. And I know the Saints have advertisement on their practice jerseys. When they're at practice, there's a patch on there. And I'm sure other teams across the board do. So it's coming. I just hope it doesn't turn into NASCAR where you got one on both sleeves and you got one right next to your name. And,
or golf.
Or golf, with the hats, and they got 7 logos on their golf shirt, some of them do. So I hope it doesn't get to that, but, NASCAR has survived, golf has survived, and, maybe we reach that day. And I'd be curious whether the conference lets it up to the school, or does the SEC come with, hey, look, we got TK's hardware store, and all 14 schools are going to wear it because they gave us $1 gazillion, or they're going to leave it up to the school to get what they want that maybe is more regional or more central to their location.
I think it's 100. I think it's 100% gonna happen. Just like I think the NIL thing's gonna. We're gonna see people signing deals in December and January to get players to stay from transferring or going pro. I think 100% it's going to happen one day. Don't know when. And look, I know there's all this tradition, this talk of tradition in college sports, but we have seen traditions torn up and thrown to the wayside. Obviously Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC, and A&M and Texas played forever, 100 years. Well, that's done. They don't play anymore. I mean, there's so many things that have changed in the last 10 to 15 years in college sports. All these traditions that we thought would never go away, they go away, and people move on and forget about it. So, look, things get more and more expensive. Would an LSU fan, for example, rather pay $500 or let's just say $500 less next year for tickets if that meant that they have to have a LeBears logo on their chest? Absolutely. So much for those traditions. You tell me I don't have to – my ticket prices aren't going to go up for the next 10 years or minimally go up in the next 10 years because you have logos on your uniform? Absolutely. No problem. Don't have an issue with it. And I think that that's where we're headed because there's only so much – especially a state like Louisiana, right, who doesn't have all these Fortune 500 companies running around throwing advertising dollars out there. If they can get something, I think it's wise to do.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I'm looking for tickets for the Auburn game to take the grandsons, and I hadn't looked for tickets in a while, Ronnie. They're expensive. You
were surprised, huh?
I was stunned, baby. On StubHub, I was stunned. Now I can sit in the row XX in the right. West upper deck for $60 or $70, but if you want anywhere, I mean, you're talking
for $60 or $70 before you pay the surcharges and everything, which are about 20%.
Yeah. So I mean, and then if you want to try to sit a little lower, I mean, you're talking $400 or $500 a pop. I mean, I didn't realize that, but hey, but I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think they're going to say, well, you can pay $500 less because we put in the LeBears patch. No, I think they're going to want money grab. They're going to know you're still paying. Might not go up, but you're not going to pay less. You're never going to lower it.
Yeah, poor choice of words. What I meant was it's not going to go up $500 over the next couple of years. It'll be a slower
in at a price.
It'll be a slower tick up if you have those dollars to throw on the helmet or the jerseys or whatever, versus a more steeper climb if you don't. So I mean, in essence, it'll save you money over the long run.
And when do we get some logos in the end zone and logos
on the field,
on the 35-yard kickoff line where they put the little X, maybe they put a LeBears logo, because that camera's going to hit that a lot during the game. And it's all about impressions, as we know, being in the advertising and marketing world with Sports Shorts Daily and radio and all that. So, hey, it'd be interesting to see how it unfolds, but you can always follow the money.
Well, what's interesting, Tommy, is that, of course, colleges are usually like I said, they're the last ones to go that route, to go the route of the pro teams and to have the advertisements like soccer and whatnot all over your jerseys. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but I think inevitably it's going to happen. Coach Burtman once told me years ago when he was athletic director at LSU that the budget increased $1 million every year. So every year, the cost of operating the LSU athletic department increased by $1 million. So you have to find $1 million of the revenue to cover that $1 million worth of expense. And so you have to create $1 million worth of new revenue every year some kind of way. Well, how do you do that? He said, well, you would rotate. All right, we're going to raise the price of RV parking. All right, next year we're going to raise the price of some concession items. Or the next year we're going to raise the price of you had like a wheel and it just went around, and every 4 or 5 years, everything went up and to find the money. Well, are you just going to continue to do that forever? I mean, am I going to pay $18 for a Coke one day, or you got to find new revenue streams? And clearly in the state of Louisiana, where financially we've been hit by the oil and gas situation, and COVID's been disastrous, and we're losing our coastline, and all sorts of issues with storms hitting New Orleans, and is energy going to leave or stay, and all this stuff. This is a simple solution. Just wear out your uniform a little bit.
You know what? Last week when LSU played Central Michigan, that stadium was not close to full.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's the thing. I know it was Central Michigan, but look at this. Let's just say they lose to Mississippi State, and then next week hunting season opens.
Right.
You know what that does for folks in Louisiana? They lose Mississippi State. You could be looking at 40,000 people at the LSU game next week at 8 p.m. against, albeit Auburn. Hey, one thing real quick. You mentioned Skip Bergman. He's got his radio show, Hold the Rope, with Skip and Cano every Sunday night on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm a part of that show. Justin Vincent is. And our guest this week, Jeremy Moore, an old friend of yours, going to tell a Skip story. And Paul Maneri is going to be part of the radio show, ESPN Radio, Sunday night, 7 to 9. Hold the Rope with Skip and Cano.
By the way, how about last night? The Carolina Panthers knock off the Houston Texans, 24-9. Surprise story of the NFL is Carolina going to 3-0, Tommy. There's no doubt about it. And Sam Darnold just rejuvenating his career. He was a guy who, it's amazing that how quickly you give up on first-round pick quarterbacks. There's a reason they were first-round pick quarterbacks, right? They were pretty talented. But Sam Darnold, who now is starting to live up to those expectations. Costly win, though, as McCaffrey. They lose him with an injury. But Carolina 3-0, Coach. I mean, of all the teams, if you'd have thought, who might be 3-0, not named Tampa Bay, you'd have said Saints or Atlanta. You wouldn't have said Carolina.
Well, I guarantee you, Carolina's happy to be 3-0, but they're waiting for that doctor's report on McCaffrey. What's the extent? How long is he out? Well, what's going on there? That's very important to that team. The Houston Texans, they're a mess. They're a dumpster fire right now for lots of reasons. So, Carolina did what they needed to do. I looked at that last night. Carolina was laying 8.5, and I just backed off saying, no, we're not going to fool with that one. But obviously that would have been a good play, but I laid off.
So McCaffrey with the hamstring injury, Darnold said he's talked to his star running back after the game, and McCaffrey was sad, meaning he did not feel like, oh no, it's okay, I'll be out a week or two. Like, this is one of the more severe hamstring injuries. And the thing about hamstring injuries, Tommy, is that every time you see a player get one, they always want to rush back, and they always come back a week too soon or 2 weeks too soon, and inevitably it becomes an issue all season long. So for Carolina Panthers' sake, I'm sure they as much as it hurts them, no pun intended, to have Christian McCaffrey on that sideline, they really need to leave him there for as long as possible, because if you rush him back, he's not going to be 100%, and he's going to re-aggravate it. We've just seen it over and over again. Speaking of injuries, Cleveland Browns, Jarvis Landry moved to the injured list. He's on the injured list but Odell Beckham Jr. expected to play this week against the Bears. So the Browns lose one Tiger, get another one back. Give me some Saints talk this week against the New England Patriots, Tommy.
Saints on the road against the Patriots. Patriots a 3-point favorite. Which Saints team are we going to get? The one that beat the Packers, or the one that got beat by the next week? Which one are we going to get? Which Jameis Winston are we going to get? I mean, there's a lot of questions here, and it's the Patriots. It's still Bill Belichick. Mac Jones is doing well, and the game's in New England. So Saints have been road warriors due to the hurricane, with not being in New Orleans. I think they come back to the Dome the next week. That's going to be another close one. I mean, that's really hard one to pick, hard to get the vibes on it. I think you got to like New England because they're at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Saints +3. I'm going to buy them this week because the injury list is improving for the Saints. Last week they had a number of players out. This week a lot of them are starting to practice. I feel optimistic that we're going to have a couple of Gardner-Webb and Lattimore back playing in the secondary, which they're going to need them to do. I'm going to take the veteran quarterback versus the rookie quarterback. They've been obviously handing the ball off and relying on that running game and been manageable with the passing game. Obviously we had one good game and one bad game from the Saints quarterback, but I'm going to go with veteran quarterback over rookie quarterback. I'm going to go with improved health of the Saints. I think they probably sat out some people, thought they could get by the Carolina Panthers without playing folks. Hey, we just took care of the Green Bay Packers. Didn't happen. Those guys got to play. I'm going to take the Saints only because of the points. I like the +3. You know, I think if it's going to be super close. And if they lose, we're looking at maybe a field goal, a point or two, something like that.
You make a lot of good points, and obviously we both think it's going to be a very close game. This could, 5 minutes to go, both teams have a chance. Could be a field goal at the buzzer, made or missed. That could be the difference.
He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. Tell us about Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
Well, Tremonti's, all you catering needs, office parties. They got the lunch specials now. Deer season, hunting season opens next week. They got all the game processing here for you at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Come get a steak. Come get a bottle of wine. Get some liquor for the weekend. Get it all done at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Jefferson Highway, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Mike and the staff will be happy to help you. 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday. Barbecue ribs tomorrow morning if you want to get something to go home and have some lunch when you watch the LSU Mississippi State game.
By the way, Tommy, tell us about your baseball picks. Did you get back on the winning track?
No, actually, I've lost 2 in a row now. But so
got a wrong streak going.
Yeah, we're getting close to the postseason. Going to be all over that. Even going to be some postseason picks at meatandpotatoesusa.com. We've kicked that up a notch. Before you bet football this weekend, college or NFL, before you bet, check out the consultants at meatandpotatoesusa.com. You get some winners. If you don't get a winner, you get free picks piled on after that. We got some documented success by our consultants. Go to the website, meatandpotatoesusa.com. Sports betting's exploding in the USA, so we got meatandpotatoesusa.com.
By the way, yesterday, Tommy, I went over to Kim Mulkey's house to film an interview that's going to air on the Cox Sports Television LSU pregame show sometime between 9 and 10 tomorrow morning on CST. And we talked about Kramer, her son, of course, Kramer Robertson, is playing in the Cardinals organization in AAA. He's had a good year and didn't get a call up. Was a little disappointed that didn't happen. Obviously, they have a very good team. They're kind of, stacked right now. But
they've won 12 in a row.
Yeah. I mean, the first time they've done that since '82. And they won the World Series that year. So it might be a situation where, depending on what happens in the offseason, going to be interesting offseason for the Cardinals. A lot of times when you have a good team, you lose players to free agency. You got to make some decisions if you want to lock up guys or not. So be an interesting offseason for Kramer. Either he'll be going to, spring training fighting for a job or an opportunity to make the team, or maybe he'll have an agent asking for a trade or something to some organization where he can play. As frustrating as it was for Kim Mulkey talking about her son not getting called up and whatnot, I was like, hey, remember there's a guy named Jason Williams, 388, coach. 388 the guy hit one year in AAA and never made it to the big leagues because he was playing with the Reds behind Barry Larkin. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
I was with Jason last night. We were both instructors in a camp clinic down in Gonzales. And look, he was teaching infield play last night. I was just sitting there amazed that, he looks like he can still play.
He can.
He's bowed up. He's ripped. He lifts the weights. Boy, can he teach baseball? Wow. I had fun listening. I hope the kids had as much fun as I did.
Yeah. But there's a lot of – Mark Howie was another guy who hit like almost 400 one year in AAA.
But didn't he get to the bigs for a little bit?
I don't think he did. I don't think Mark Howie did.
I thought he got up with the A's or something.
Okay, well, have to see. But there's been so many guys that he was with the A's when they had Mark McGwire at first base. So I think this story is that it was similar to Rick, but to Jason. But it's just so hard. It's a lot of luck of the draw. What organization you're with, what's going on with the big league team, what contracts do they have? Are there any first round picks that are around you at your position? And if it's tie go to the runner, they're going to go with the first round pick because you weren't. It's a lot of politics and BS in baseball. But anyway, the good news is that you keep putting up numbers in the minor leagues. Somebody's going to trade for you or grab you off of a Rule 5 or something like that one day. He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We'll be over at LaBerge Casino tomorrow night from 7 to 9. Sports Shorts Radio After Dark, presented by LaBerge Casino. Be a little LSU post-game show, so come check us out, and we'll talk NFL as well in hour number 2 as the Saints travel up to New England to take on the Patriots. Have a great day.